Three releases so far. Here's a look at the NECA toys. It's the Sesame Street Presents Count Von Count Ultimate Action Figure. Get ready to count to your heart's content with the third Ultimate in the NECA Sesame Street line. The Count's first appearance on the classic children TV series in 1972, and his enthusiasm for counting anything and everything has made him a fan favorite ever since. You too will have fun counting all the articulation points on this 7-inch scale figure, 27 to be exact. The Count comes with a number of accessories including an alternate head, 5 interchangeable hands, a cloth cape, candelabra, phone, and the number 2. If you're looking to count how many times that word shows up in his name, you'd be surprised to see too. As a kid, I always really just called him the Count. Before, though, we get a closer look at Count Von Count. We're going to take the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. And then on top of that, we're going to bring in the previously looked at Sesame Street figures, counting another 2. Tape measure is going to tell us, though, that Count, looking at numbers after all, is going to be counting up to 5 3/4 of an inch in height. If he measures, though, things in centimeters, then he's going to count all the way up to 15. Ernie makes 1, Bert makes 2, Count makes 3. So far, 3 figures from the Sesame Street line and NECA, not the end of the license at all though. Already shown at San Diego Comic-Con 2025, NECA lined up their new lineup of Sesame Street figures consisting of Harry, Oscar the Grouch, Big Bird, Grover, and surprisingly, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson? Who's Mr. Johnson? Mr. Johnson, by the way, was always the customer that Grover was a waiter to. He was always known for having the mustache. Always seemed so surprised that things were running the way that they were at the restaurants. I can't believe we're actually getting a Mr. Johnson. As for Count's accessories, don't be counting on spelling anything. In fact, so far, he's the only figure that hasn't actually come included with letters. When we have already looked at Ernie and Bert, they actually came respectively with A and C. If you really wanted to spell this as the A, B, C's, we'd be missing a B in the middle. However, though, if you're looking to spell NECA, N and E would be the things that we still need to complete the company's name. Of course, we don't really have an N and an E just yet. But funny though enough, I guess not really all that funny, Count would have come, of course, included with a number. Can I also just draw your attention to how snooty this 2 looks? That is got to be by far the snootiest 2 I have ever seen. This 2 always really just has its head up high. It's like, heh, heh. That is one snooty 2. The Snooty 2 is also done here all in brown. Really not really the preferred color I would have gone with if going with a Snooty 2. Still, though, can we stop saying Snooty 2s? Anyways, though, it does come included with a 2. And move the 2 over there. The figure does also come included for an accessory count. Again, quite a lot of things. A candelabra, for example, does come included with the count. The candelabra isn't, well, you only really see 3 candles. If you look at the back of it, though, it's completely flat. This does hold in his hands, although to be honest, not all that well. He does technically have 2 hands for gripping things. He does also have a phone, so that's really one of the things that can also be used with these hands. But if you try to take the candelabra, for example, you really do have to force that in his hand. I would certainly, though, recommend, as I honestly didn't do this. I didn't do this at all. Heat the hand, though, in hot water first, everybody. Then you could probably pry the plastic a little bit better away. I actually did put the candelabra somewhat successfully into the hands of the Count, although it really doesn't hold all that well. The phone, however, though, holds a little bit better. The receiver is, though, separate. It's actually as a separate piece. I don't think Linda really has ever been calling anybody on Sesame Street. By the way, though, I don't think she's gotten her beers yet. Anyways, though, the receiver can be lifted from the rest of the phone. This is rotary dial, so you can't actually dial anything, but the only one real worry I have actually about this is somebody in a sheet strangling the Count from behind. I don't think that's really likely to happen. But also, too, that the line is very thin. And don't tug it too much, because obviously that's going to break the plastic. But the fact that we actually do have ourselves a little phone, that's cool. I'd probably be end up displaying the Count I feel with that. What else does he have? What else do he have? He has a couple of pointing hands. Well, I shouldn't even say count a couple of pointing hands. He actually has the hands to count to 3. If I hold 2 and I hold 3 and I grab the 1, even though really only has 1 and 2 hands, or 1 and 2 arms, he unfortunately, though, has 3 hands. So you're going to have to choose which number he's holding up at once. So again, you got the 1, you got the 2, and of course you got 3. 1, 2, and 3. Those can again be swapped out by just swapping out the hands that he currently has. Now you do have to have a little bit of time to swap the hands out if you also want to attach the cape onto the figure's body. I don't know why I'm waving my finger all around. I keep looking over that. Snooty too. The figure does come also included with a cape. Now the cape was actually something that's on the back tray. I'm sure you would have already seen this unless you were opening up your figures with your eyes closed. Open up your eyes, see what you're doing. Make sure, of course, you don't cut yourself. You're going to probably be having to count out how many little piggies end up getting cut if you don't actually open up the packaging with your eyes open. But what you'll see, though, inside, underneath the tray, is a cape. And the cape actually has a plastic for the collar, but then a fabric for the bottom. What's nice, though, is that they also added a wire. So the wire runs not along necessarily the bottom. Well, I guess there is technically also is a very thin wire. Maybe it is a thin. I can feel it. It's a thin wire. I can feel better the wire that's on the top, but there seems to be a wire all the way around the edge. That's a very busy looking print. I actually feel like I had not my house growing up, but I feel like I went to a house where somebody had this as drapes. It wasn't a shiny material like this, but it had a very similar pattern. What exactly is really going on with the pattern? I know there's is it paisley? No. There's a specific term given to a pattern like this. Somebody who's old, I'm sure, can let me know down below in the comment section. Anyways, though, the cape actually attaches onto the back of the Count's body in the same way, really, that the Bela Lugosi Dracula worked. Although I find that it's a little easier on this one. If you tilt the Count's collar up, you can actually see there's a little lip right there. See how this sticks out a little bit more? So what you essentially do is there's a clip right there on the back of the Count's cape. Ooh, that's a lot of... And basically all you're going to do is take the clip and fit it on the back of the Count's collar. Just like that. Now, you really don't necessarily have to have the cape attached to his sleeves. You could leave it really the way it is, and then just sort of, I guess you could kind of pose it down a little bit. The problem with it, though, is that even though it does attach somewhat securely, if you start to move the cape around, it's going to come off the collar. There's a lot of C's again. There we go. To really, though, secure it and make sure it's not going to be going anywhere, what it does also have is it has these little plastic loops. I don't really know the longevity of these loops, whether this plastic would be strong enough. I mean, one thing, though, is that you're going to have to take the hands off. Don't try to force it up the sleeves. For sure, though, you're definitely going to be breaking that. You can count on breaking those plastic loops. What you'll do, though, instead is take the arms off, or take the hands off, just like that. And then sort of, I find, to take the peg, loop it around the loop, and then plug it back into the hole. Now, that holds well. Not to the point where it's going to go anywhere. My only one real concern, though, is twisting the hand if that's going to start to wear away that plastic. So I imagine, though, this is probably one of those things that once you have the Count displayed with the cape, leave it the way it is. You probably may not feel you want to move everything around on it, just because, again, like, I don't know, that loop may break. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Then I'm sure we're going to take this off, because I find going through the posability of the figure, it's going to be next to impossible if we got these loops in the way. Yeah, still the clip, unfortunately, on the cape collar just doesn't hold well enough in place. You might even find it's easier just to attach the hands first, then go back to the cape and just move it up here. I want to make sure I get that all the way on there. And just, there we go, plug it in place. So now the cape's got a collar, and the Count's got his cape. It's nice. I mean, I really like the look of the cape. I don't really recall, to be honest with you, that this was the pattern that the Count had for the interior of his cape. I mean, obviously, to be fair, though, it's been a while since I've seen the Sesame Street series. Sesame Street, for me at least, a couple of years ago, when my daughter was still young, I tried to introduce her to Sesame Street. She really wasn't keen with it. She really preferred Paw Patrol, and she certainly liked like Barney the Dinosaur and things like that. She also really liked the Wiggles. Sesame Street was a no-go, and honestly, though, even going back and watching Sesame Street a few years back, it just really didn't have the charm that the classic Sesame Street had. Now, one thing that's cool about the Count, though, is he does also have a swappable head sculpt. In the way that he is right now, getting him out of his plastic prison. The figure does also have a neutral expression, but he does also have this one, where it actually looks like he's counting, where he's saying, I do like the way that they've done the open mouth like this. His little chin beard down below is painted really well, as well for his eyebrows. He does have the monocle. Now, so putting and changing the heads, you want to make sure really that you're not putting pressure against both the eyebrows and the monocle, just that both of them could, either one of them, really either, or both for that matter, could actually break if you're putting too much pressure against it. If you did want to change out the head sculpt, though, and I'm actually going to remove the cape just because I know getting to the articulation on the figure, The cape is one thing I really don't want to be in the way. So we're going to just remove the hands. Just pop those off from the sleeves. Take the loops off, take the clip off, take the cape away, and move it over there. Let's go back and put the hands back in place. Now, I guess really, if we want to, let's find some hands to count with. So we're going to count with number 1. That starts generally when you want to count to 10 or even count to 5. Some of us may struggle getting all the way to 10. If you find that counting to 5 is easier for you, then you'll obviously need 1 and you'll need 2. Changing out the head, though, by the way, all you're going to want to do is hold onto the torso, kind of wiggle the head and pop it off the post. That's not the hard part. The hard part is now putting on the new head sculpt, because you don't want to put pressure to the chin, you don't want to put pressure certainly on the monocle, and you don't want to put pressure against the eyebrows. With that all in mind, with all the cautionary tales aside, kind of twist the head until eventually it gets on the post. Again, I'm resisting the urge. Unlike the earlier with the candelabra, I didn't actually heat that hand. I did actually heat, though, the peg joint, or the hole that was attaching the head to the peg. I did already do that, but with all the time that I've been talking about snooty 2s and how you can count to 2, actually the plastic has cooled. So once the head is now in place, again, you have either the option of having just the smiling count or just, I guess, the regular expression face for the count, and then you also have this one. I think really, though, I'd probably go displaying the figure with this. As you can certainly see, though, it does look very much like the count. Big pointy nose, again, very white teeth. Even though the count, I don't really know, what exactly is the count eating? Has they ever really established that? I feel like that would be something that Sesame Street would make them note of doing. Sesame Street wouldn't want to promote the idea that Count is actually enjoying blood. I think he probably enjoys, like, vegetables, something similar to Cookie Monster, because, of course, Cookie Monster can't be promoted eating cookies. For the rest, though, of his outfit, the Count does have his jacket. Now, you can actually see he's got himself like a, what would you call that? Like just a little strap behind that. I guess that is really part of his vest. The actual shirt, oh, there goes the head. Let's just put the head back in place. The head is one thing, again, I'm going to really have to heat back up before we get to the turntable. I don't really want the head to pop off. And what I really don't want is I don't want the head, you know what? I think we've got it. No, we're going to go back to the defaulted head, just because I know that was the easier one to get onto the ball joint. And the last thing, again, I want to do, there we go. Last thing I really want to do is have heads rolling. As for, like I said, with the rest of the outfit, the black jacket looks good. It's a little more on the softer plastic, whereas the lower legs are all hard plastic. I think they've done a well enough job of matching the 2 colors. Of course, he does also have his spats down below here. I really feel, though, that the spats should be white. Not that really you would see a lot of that with the Count. Half the time he'd usually be like walking behind something, because obviously the puppeteer's arm would be underneath here. But the spats look good. I mean, again, like everything about the Count looks really good. The Widow's Peak there on the top does really much look like Bela Lugosi's Dracula, if Bela Lugosi obviously was a Muppet. Now for the figure's articulation, I can't keep looking at that too. For the head's articulation, it's going to be on a ball joint. I think I've got a secure enough fit now attached onto the ball joint. Yeah, the head moves down and up. You can rock it back and forth. And technically, yeah, you can rotate the Count all the way around. For his shoulders, they do the same. They rotate all the way around. You can bring the arms up, but you can't quite pull off 90 degrees. It's a little less than that. What would that really be? What would you count that up to be? About 75, 80 degrees? The figure does also have a bicep swivel, or I should really say a forearm swivel, and there's a single hinge in the elbow. Hands rotate all the way around, whether you want to use the counting hands or not. The upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. It's a little kind of harder to get to that just because the jacket's in the way. Legs do splits. That's about as far of a splits as you can actually pull off. Sure enough, yeah, the legs go forward and back. A little bit of a swivel there at the top of the thigh. Single hinge knee, lower leg rotation, ankle pivot up and down, and an ankle rocker there as well. In case you are curious, 1 and 2, you can count them off. The figure does also have peg holes on the undersides of his feet. All in all, though, missing a cape. The cape will have to come back when we get to the rotisserie. Yeah, all in all, though, I really like the look of the Count. I hate to almost even say this. I think certainly of the first three that we've gotten from NECA Toys, I feel like Count Von Count might be actually my favorite. Of course, it says the biased guy behind the camera. I know, really, I'm a big fan of, like, Universal Monsters and Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I mean, just... yes, because of the biasness behind that, I might actually feel that I think Count is the better looking figure. It's got pretty cool accessories. Of course, it does have the fabric cape. The fabric cape is one concern still I have. I was trying to like look at this and think of like, what else would I have really done to attach the cape onto his sleeves? I thought initially, what if they maybe had used pegs? But then if you used pegs with plastic, how would really those have attached first of all to the cape? And then if you were plugging that onto the sides of his wrists, I mean, any bit of movement from the figure's arms would likely snap or remove the pegs. These probably by far would be the easiest ways to attach these securely onto the forearms, just though the twisting and the turning, even though this is a soft enough plastic, I just only really worry that these are eventually going to break. Once I eventually get the count the way I've got them displayed, with maybe the candelabra or even the phone, just give somebody a call and count to 3. Again, he's got some pretty cool accessories. He is, though, again, the only figure so far from Sesame Street where we haven't actually gotten ourselves letters, where Bert and Ernie have at least made some valid attempts to try to spell off NECA. Count just says, well, he already knows, everybody knows around the Count. Count's not worrying really much about letters. He's more worried about numbers. We don't necessarily have a number 1 to start our counting. We start instead with a snooty 2. Nice looking figure, though. Of the 3 figures, again, we've gotten from NECA Toys, Count Von Count still by far is my favorite. Whether that will change, though, when we get the future releases that NECA has already announced at San Diego Comic-Con, time will only tell. In the meantime, you'll have to count down the time until eventually those figure releases come out. I don't really know who the Count's calling right now, but I hope, though, he's not calling somebody back in Transylvania who's going to be paying the long-distance fees for this. The thing about the Count, though, holding his phone is that you really do want to have him holding the other end of the phone so the phone ain't just dangling there. One thing that goes with that, though, is the difficulty of him properly holding it. He does have technically a flat hand, but with the thumb being in the way of it, he just barely balances the phone on the ends of his fingers. Now, the figure does also have the candelabra. I mean, just because, again, he's holding the phone with both his hands. It's not like the Count has 3 hands, even though he has 3 separate hands that count up to 3. The candelabra, though, might just be something I'll display on the side. Funny, though, again, like I keep pointing out the fact that this 2 looks a little sketchy to me. I do actually like the idea that being that he is Count Von Count, yeah, he's not going to be counting letters. How do you count letters? I guess you could count that there's 2 letters that we've gotten so far from Sesame Street characters, being with Bert and being with Ernie. Count instead chooses to have 2. Is the 2 a reference for the fact that we've already gotten 2 other characters, and those 2 characters came with 2 letters? I think I'm looking way too deep in this. Right now, I'm just kind of wondering to myself, who exactly is Count calling? If you guys are interested, though, to get Count for your collection, he's available right now either in stores or online. Not having any luck with the first, I chose with the second. I ended up ordering this one. I don't know really exactly which site I actually ordered it from. Sure enough, they had it. Obviously, they would have had to have had it in order for me to do the review of him. But what do you guys think of the Counts? Let me know down below in the comment section. Now that we have 3 figures in, 1, 2, and 3, which of those 3 would you say is the best one we've gotten from NECA so far? Now, already again announced, we've seen images. If you weren't lucky enough to go to San Diego Comic-Con, I was not the fortunate one to check out SDCC. But at least I was smart enough to see online that we are getting ourselves a Harry the Monster. We're getting a Grover, Oscar the Grouch, a Big Bird, and Mr. Johnson. It was really weird to see Mr. Johnson being one that was included, unless he's going to be a 2-pack with Grover. That would be kind of interesting to make it like a waiter Grover, and then, I mean, I can't imagine that they're probably going to be packing and including a tabletop and chairs, but maybe they might just do a Grover and Mr. Johnson 2-pack. Who in the right mind is going to be buying Mr. Johnson on their own? You can't see it. The guy behind the camera with his hand held up high is definitely going to be buying Mustache Mr. Johnson. If you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid, and throw it a like. If you guys want to stick around for more so, I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on the bell so you're going to get the reminders every single time a new video posts. And make sure, though, that you're coming back because there's going to be more videos coming your way. Really? For reals. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.